Hi, welcome back to Transform to One's channel. We are a faith-based organization whose vision is to foster transformational change through Christ-centered initiatives. One way in which we do this is by hosting our annual Navigating Trauma workshop series in person here in Jamaica. As we prepare for our upcoming workshop on managing grief, which will take place on November 1st, 2025, we've invited one of our speakers, Mrs. Rosie McLeggon-Hinds, to share her thoughts on navigating the process of grief. We hope you enjoy. Hi, and welcome back to Transform to One's YouTube channel. I am Shani, and at Transform to One, our aim is to foster transformational change through Christ-centered initiatives. And one way in which we do that is we host our annual Navigating Trauma workshops. This year's workshop will take place on November 1st, 2025, at which we will have Mrs. Rosie McLeggon-Hinds as one of our speakers. Welcome, Rosie.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you. So our theme this year will be on managing grief. And today we just want to talk a little bit with Rosie to hear what she has to share on the topic and to give you guys just a little idea of what you can expect in the upcoming workshop. So I'll introduce Rosie to you and then we'll start our discussion. Rosie McLeggon-Hinds worked with the Ministry of Education for over 20 years as a guidance counselor conducting counseling sessions with children, adolescents, families, couples, individuals, and groups, assisting them to resolve various personal and relational issues. She currently works part-time as a licensed associate counseling psychologist with Family Life Ministries, an organization committed to the enhancement of the family unit. She believes that healthy, happy families, parents and children in particular, are the basic ingredients for a healthy, happy home, community and nation, and that God has to be a part of the healing process for health and happiness to be complete. Welcome again, and I am happy that your mantra is in alignment with what we at Transform to One do.
Good.
So, let's start our conversation. We are going to be talking about grief management at the workshop. And so in your practice of 20 plus years, if not more, how long have you been offering counseling to persons who would have experienced grief?
Just as long as I've been practicing, actually. Grief is in life. So basically, all of life, you have to deal with it. And so all of my counseling career, I've had to deal with it with a wide cross-section of persons, children, their parents, teachers, So it's something that you really can't avoid because it's just a part of life.
Is there any specific loss that you've noticed, maybe, I don't know if it's a Jamaican thing or just in your practice, that is the most common loss that you can say comes up a lot in counseling?
Well, the thing about it, Shani, is that when persons think of loss, they normally think of death. But loss is much more than that. Yes, death is common because we all go through it. But persons experience loss when they lose a loved one, for example, in a relationship, when they lose a job, when they move from somewhere they've lived for 15, 20 years, and then they have to relocate. So loss occurs in many different ways. But I guess one could say that the most profound is loss by death.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's interesting that you mentioned the non-death losses because up until doing the workshop, I hadn't thought of it. And you even mentioned moving from living in an area.
Yes.
I wouldn't have thought of it as a loss. And you do hear, especially children, persons talk about, we relocated and the child was acting out.
That's right.
But I wouldn't have thought of it that it's grief. That's what they're experiencing.
That's right.
So that's interesting. Which leads me to the next question. Do you find that when persons experience losses that maybe as a trained person you can identify, is the general person able to identify that? What are the household able, is the household able to acknowledge it and treat with it? Is the workplace able to, do you see where, you know, there is support in community when persons experience losses, especially the ones that are not readily identified as a loss, as grief?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Sometimes, for example, at the workplace, a person may not be performing and they may put it down to anxiety. And they may come in wanting treatment for anxiety. And it's only after talking to them for a little while, getting some history, that you might realize they've been anxious for 2 years now, and the person's father or somebody they loved died 2 years ago, and they thought they were handling the death very well, so they didn't put the two together, you know. But somebody who is trained and who will process, that's why counseling is not a one-time event, you know, it's a process. And as we take them through the process, sometimes they will bring up different things that will suggest that the anxiety doesn't have to do with being tired or too much work at the office or anything. It has to do with unfinished business in terms of maybe the death, you know? The other question in terms of, do people, say at the workplace, recognize that persons need help? I think that's what you're asking, right? Well, you know how it is at the workplace. Work comes first. So there are some companies who will say, take a day off. In fact, there are some companies who have a standing order with counselors to say, if my employee is not feeling well or seems as if there is some mental issue going on, then the employee can come and get treatment. And most companies have like EAP, where they come and they have maybe 3 sessions. And many companies have that kind of standing relationship with counselors, therapy centers, and it really does help many people. And I advise people to use it up.
Right.
Yeah, because counseling can be expensive. So if your company is giving you 3 sessions, make good use of it.
Okay. So the 5 stages, we know that grief is a process, and so persons may skip stages, go back to stages. There's no particular order. And I've read that the stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance.
Good job.
And some persons have added a 6th stage, purpose. So I wanted to know, in terms of what is your position as it relates to the stages? You know, what is it like to go through, and do you accept the purpose stage as an actual stage?
Okay. Yes, sure, there's great significance in all those stages. In fact, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross is the person who came up with it, because she was dealing with researching terminally ill patients, and later realized that their loved ones also had the same emotions. So as we look at it, it's important for us to realize, as you said, that it's not linear. It doesn't go bam, 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 right? You can skip. Some people may never experience one of them. Some people may never experience anger, you know. But it's good research. It's very real. And persons have used it over the years and found that, you know, those stages are really realistic. With regard to purpose, I think that's a David Kessler thing. David Kessler has been doing a lot of work on grief. And I do agree to some extent. I do believe that in acceptance, persons usually come to that acceptance by looking at what purpose can I get out of this? You know, how can I continue the legacy of my loved one? And so, with that extra determination and strength, they go after that, and that helps them. But I do believe also that all through the grieving process, people are asking about purpose. For example, when people go through anger, they are saying, you know, this is not right. This is not fair. Why did this have to happen? What purpose is in this? And if at that point you bring up God to them, they say, no, I don't care. What purpose could God have in letting my loved one die? So I think people are always thinking of purpose. What purpose? And I think Christians in particular try to think about God and what God is saying from all of this. And it's kind of like the Christian life to think God must have a purpose for this, you know? So from that perspective, yes, I believe purpose is I don't know if I totally agree that it's another stage,
Right.
but I do believe it's involved in the 5 stages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And as we speak about the process of grieving and what it can look like to different people, what is an example of how someone could grieve? But what I want to get at is sometimes people may think that something is wrong with them because they're going through a certain emotion or because they're having a certain thought or feeling towards something during the process. But what's an example of a normal grieving person who may be going through something that they think is odd, but it's pretty normal given, you know, what you're going through?
Well, we kind of just touched on it, Shani. The denial, the anger. Sometimes persons don't understand, why am I so angry? You know, why am I blaming? Why am I feeling so sad? They wonder if something is wrong with them, but it's all a part of the process. Some people may cry, some people may holler and bawl, really carry on badly. You and I may be sisters and a parent may die and you deal with it completely different from me. Maybe for you, the parent was like a best friend. Maybe for me, the parent was like a rock, a problem solver. We're dealing with it, but we're dealing with it differently. You may decide to jog every day, burn it out. So I might decide to do overtime at work, and that's how I'm dealing with it. So grief is very personal, and so everybody deals with it differently. And you shouldn't really tell a person, oh, 1 year gone, no man. Time your stuff, boil. No. Everybody deals with it differently. Some people are going to visit the graveside for a long time, putting flowers and whatever. And some people, they've left the person there, the person is gone, and now they just deal with what it feels like to just not have them sitting around the dining table anymore.
Thank you. So
I hope that answers your question.
yes, it does. It does. Because as you're saying, there's no one size fits all. There's no way for it to look. It's personal.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
Yes.
Right.
I'd like to add though that if the person seems way out in terms of how they're eating, maybe how they're dressing, and there are a number of other signs that we look for to say, okay, I think I need to recommend to that person that he or she needs extra support.
Okay.
You know? So that may be now above normal.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are some extremes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Right. So in terms of the grieving process, this will be my final question.
Mm-hmm.
Does it ever end? What's your perspective on that?
Does love ever end?
No.
Never. So love never ends. And with that, grieving never ends. It just looks a little different. Not maybe as intense. You're not crying as often. But sometimes a smell may trigger you. A sound. It can make you burst out bawling, thinking of myself. Or you just feel the tears running down. So it's not as intense, but it's there. Sometimes a piece of furniture, an experience, and it just comes flooding back. Not to mention the fact that when it comes to special occasions, like Christmas, birthdays, oh my gosh, those are the worst. And when at the session, I'll talk a little bit more about what you can do to prepare yourself for those times to get over the hump. Hump will be there, but just how you can prepare to get over that hump.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. And by the way, I would love to encourage all of you to come out to the session on November 1. Based on the outline that I've seen, you've done a good job in terms of gathering wonderful resource persons. And I believe that persons are going to be blessed, not just by the individual speakers, but will be blessed by having counselors to walk through their own grief or help them to walk through whatever grief they may be dealing with in the family, or with friends. They will be able to get some extra tips on that. So please come out to the sessions 9 to 2 o'clock on November 1, 2025. Do not miss it, please.
Thanks for being on the program today, Rosie. Really appreciated your insight and input, and we definitely look forward to having you on November 1st.
Thank you, Shawnee. You're welcome. It was really great being with you, and I look forward to the presentation in November.
All right.
All right.
Bye, everyone.